Yeah, you can applaud. I love applause. As many of you know, I'm a man of a few thousand words. So here we go. First up, I have to talk about you a little bit before Christina does. I have a right arm and I have a left arm. And for a very, very long time, I'm left-handed. This was my right arm, this young man. And he's so good at what he does. He goes in a studio and he operates a board and he records his voice and he records other people's voices, he records sound effects, and then he magically, through the magic of production, creates incredible pieces of audio. As a matter of fact, his voice is still the primary voice on WCWP. He's all the liners, all the breakers, all the, well, not all the legal IDs, I had to change them because of XBA. But all the production you hear, all the imaging, is this man's work. And I miss you dearly, first of all, because during COVID, they let you go. But I wanted to bring up somebody else who is very dear to my heart, my second daughter. I have one daughter, she's my second daughter. And she is an extraordinary talent also, and is at WALK as their afternoon disc jockey, and also spends a lot of time at Disney World. A lot, if you follow her on Instagram. So I'm going to bring up Christina Kay, who's going to induct Chris Maffei. Please join it.
I'm going to try to hold it together, but I am probably one of the more emotional products that's come out of WCWP, so can't make any guarantees. But anyone who thinks they know Chris Maffei probably thinks he's the tough guy. I'm lucky to know that he is a big softie. In fact, we have shared many a tear together, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start where it all began, summer of 2011. I had just graduated and I did not want to leave WCWP. It was a place I called home. Dan knew more about my life than my parents, Phil probably does, honestly. Also, so many kids graduated. Do you remember how many students graduated in 2011? It was more than half the station.
Yeah. It was a rebuilding year, 2012.
So I didn't know what I was leaving Dan with. And then Chris came to visit.
Thank you very much.
It was a big mess. But I stayed. You let me stay. Chris came to visit before he was attending one summer, and Dan said, I want you to meet this kid. I think he really knows his stuff. And I remember thinking, I am sure he does, Dan. I'm sure he does. He came in. He was pretty quiet, but he had a confidence about him. And we gave him a CBB, Community Bulletin Board. And he knew way more about Adobe Audition than I did. He knew more about editing than I did, but I wouldn't admit it. I was impressed, wasn't gonna admit it. I was lucky to stay on after graduating, not just to be at a place that I love, but to be with people that I love. And to watch Chris, who came in very quiet, one-word answers, to see the person he became and who he is now, and to see his talent grow even more, was incredible. I was program director, and Chris was production director, and we were basically partners in crime. He not only did whatever was expected of him, but most of the time he did it before you even asked him. You couldn't get two more different people, though. I am a Disney girl, as Dan said. Wear that proud. I'm very bubbly. I'm a people person. I was talking and singing all the time, and then there's Chris, who is none of those things. A little bit more negative. I do remember a door slam time or two in that studio, Dan, yeah. Chris was not what you would call a people person either. But after he graduated, every single student was so gravitated towards Chris. They looked up to Chris, they loved Chris. And I never told him this, but I would get very emotional watching him work with students because I don't think the kid that walked in day one would have ever done that. But Chris was really good at it. Students trusted Chris. In fact, I almost think he became the part-time therapist of the station in his little studio. Everyone would just sit on the floor and vent, and he would give amazing advice to all walks of life. When Chris started, he was really quiet. In fact, he would give one-word answers. Hey, Chris, how are you? Good. What'd you do last night? Nothing. Can you fix this for me? Yeah. So I thought I would talk to a few people and find out the one word that they would use to describe Chris. Will Bruner, class of 2015, dependable. Julian Wilson, class of 2016, genius. Sammy Joe, class of 2017. She gave me a lot of good ones, but I went with visionary. That was a great one. Joe Voce, class of 2014, loyalty. Actually, he gave me a bunch of words, but I think you guys had some kind of language, so I didn't know what I was going to say, so I went with loyalty. Patrick Shea, program director of Walk 97.5, smart. And if you know that man, he does not use that lightly. Janine Solaro, extraordinarily phenomenal. She didn't get the whole one-word thing, but that's okay. I've got multiple words to describe Chris. He is kind. When I got inducted into the Hall of Fame, he drove 8 hours to be here and didn't even hesitate. He is willing to learn about others and take part in their interests. In fact, I pride myself on getting him to watch Frozen one night in my office, and if you know Chris, that is not the kind of movie Chris is gonna wanna watch. And one day we're getting you to Disney, it's gonna happen. We talked about that earlier. Chris is so funny. In fact, I would be in tears in my office over who knows what, and he would come in, crack jokes, and then just get me to genuinely laugh. And when Chris laughs, you laugh, because it's one of the most infectious laughs you'll ever hear. Chris is so talented, and that's not even a strong enough word to describe Chris. He has an ear for music and production and an eye for editing that some people will never even have a fraction of. Chris is also a teacher. I have watched him teach so many students and interns how to do something or how to take their project to the next level. And Chris has taught me so much too, not just about Adobe Audition and sound, but I experienced what a panic attack was at WCWP. And Chris taught me about breathing and canceling out the noise, and that is something I use so much to this day. Chris is a beast at karaoke. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. In fact, to this day, every time I hear Metallica, Nothing Else Matters, I think of Thursday night karaoke's at Lizard Lounge and how much those meant to me and so many that are here tonight. Chris is a superhero. He was there when I was very sick. Even if it was just to hold my hand, Chris was there. Even if it was hard for him, that was never a factor. Chris was there for all my health stuff, all my boy drama, and quite frankly, still is. Chris stayed at the station late for weeks to help me edit a rather long video that had nothing to do with work or radio. It was for my sister's graduation. And again, watching him edit blew my mind. The talent, the patience, the selflessness. I'm starting to get emotional now, Chris. Speaking of editing videos, that is something that really brought us together because we would essentially be editing in a closet, bonded a lot. But before Chris got to the station at the end of the year for our station dinners, I would try to edit these videos to wrap up the year. But when Chris got there, they went to the next level. The station cipher is still talked about with students to this day, and that's a legacy. That's Hall of Fame worthy. That is something that every student, no matter how involved they were at the station, or some of them not really even that involved at all, wanted to be a part of. And we did them for years, and I am so glad that they exist because memories. I mean, choices were made, but memories. Now, there were rough times too. College drama, long nights. Nothing was worse, though, than the one time Chris and I went to the movies. And there was a preview for Walt Disney World beforehand. Now, keep in mind, I take Disney very seriously. And Lumiere from Beauty and the Beast, my favorite movie of all time, came on the screen, and Chris goes, "Oh, look, that's a candlestick." It's a very quiet movie after that. But if our friendship could get through that, Chris, it could get through anything. Actually, one of my favorite gifts I've ever been given is a replica of Lumiere, and every time I see it, I smile. I smile thinking of afternoons where Chris had so much work to do, but he would let me sit on the floor of his studio and just vent, even if it meant he was there till 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah, I had a lot of work to do.
Yeah, sorry about that. Or I smile thinking of Thursday nights at Lizard Lounge doing karaoke, or watching our favorite TV shows together in Studio C, and then predicting what was gonna happen next. Chris and I were part of this club where we were students who graduated and got to stay on. We had this second family, this second home. We knew we had a gift, but we also wanted to stay where we were, and we had each other. I've called Chris a lot of things over the years. My production director, my colleague, Batman, Lotso, because he also gives really good hugs, my friend, but most importantly, my brother. I may talk for a living, but I honestly don't really love talking. Chris is one of the handful of people that I can stay on the phone with talking to for hours and still want to keep going. And honestly, I could continue to talk about him today and how this is so deserved. I am so thankful for our friendship and the 15 years we have known each other, and I look forward to many more. I love you, Chris. Welcome to our new club.
Okay. Just by 1, 2, 3. Got it? Congratulations. Don't make me cry.
Does this work then?
It does. Push the button until the green light comes on.
Check, check. Okay, there we go. I feel like I'm at my own funeral right now. Well, that was wonderful, Christina. Thank you. Man, I wish I pre-recorded this. I'm a behind-the-scenes kind of guy. That's why I work in production. So public speaking, not really my specialty. But I had to make this exception because the 9 years that I spent at WCWP were probably the most important years of my life. It's not an exaggeration to say that I wouldn't be who I am or where I am if I never walked into that building. Audio is really the only thing that has ever made sense to me. It's the only thing I've ever been able to wrap my head around. I've been working with waveforms since I was 15, and I started teaching myself to produce music using digital audio workstations. And the one thing that I really love about the production process is that it's at the very end of the process. Not because I'm done, but because that's when I take a look at all the individual elements that make up a project. Some of them are loud and prominent, others are soft and subtle. But all of those elements have an impact on the final mix. So I would like to highlight the most important elements that made my time at this station so impactful. And the first element is the opportunity that the station provided me with. The opportunity to have my first job in radio. Thank you, Dan. The opportunity to learn by doing, actually getting a hands-on experience, getting your hands on the equipment. The opportunity to sharpen my craft and express my creativity, build skills I didn't even know I was going to need, to benefit from the wisdom of those who came before me, to figure out who I was and who I wanted to be. The day I walked into the station for the first time, I walked in with a passion for audio and a few months of experience as a production intern at Walk FM, but I didn't walk in with direction. And I had the desire to work in audio in some form, but I didn't know exactly how to make that happen. So I walked in, and as Christina mentioned, I met three people. I met Ellyn Solis, I met Christina Kay, and I met Dan Cox. And Christina and Dan said they needed some help in the production department. And I said the two magic words, audio production. And just like that, I walked out with a job as production director. I had never really been trusted in that way. It was almost no questions asked. I was actually a little suspicious, to be quite honest with you. But for the first time, I felt like somebody truly saw potential in me and believed in my potential. And after that, I didn't waste any time. I graduated from Suffolk in May. Next week, I started at the station, and that was the entire reason I came to Post. Like, nothing else factored into that decision, I just have to say. After I met Dan, I knew that this was the place for me. For the first time in my life, I felt prepared for the opportunity that I'd been given, and I really wanted to make the most of it and prove that I was worth taking a chance on. And once I got into that studio, I realized that I was going to be spending a lot of time in that building. But after 9 years, there's no way I could have realized how much time I was going to spend in that building. And that brings me to the next element, which is the building itself. Now, the station looks amazing today. And that is a huge credit to Dan's incredible dedication to it. But in my time there, it wasn't quite as impressive as it is now. Not quite, but the ugly carpeting on the walls didn't matter. What mattered is the fact that it felt like home. At first, I saw the station as my home away from home, and then eventually it just became home. Most days I would come in early before classes, and some days I'd stay well into the evening just to be in the building, and frankly, to not be at home. Up until that point in my life, I never felt like I had a place where I truly belonged, but my first year at the station changed that. As previously mentioned, most of my time at the station was spent in a closet. In the old configuration, there used to be a small booth with a big window, and that's where I set up shop, because I figured, it's kind of a small room. I could probably get a lot of work done in here. After a little while, it became known as the Bat Cave, because if you know me, I love Batman. And much like the actual Bat Cave, I kept my Bat Cave dark at all times. So I thought that, plus the small size, would keep other people out and let me focus on producing audio. I was wrong. Inexplicably, the Bat Cave became quite the hangout spot. It's a place where I had many, many conversations with some of my favorite people on the planet. And that brings me to the most important element that had an impact on me, the people who were a part of my experience. A lot of them are here right now, tonight. And I thank them for that. But I have to start with Dan. Because without Dan being who he is, I wouldn't be who I am or where I am today. Dan became the mentor I needed at the exact moment that I needed him. As I entered my 20s, I started to realize that I didn't have too many great examples of the type of adult that I wanted to become. When I started working with Dan and learning from him, I saw him as the example of how I wanted to carry myself professionally, but more importantly, how I wanted to carry myself personally. I never had Dan as a professor, but what I learned from Dan resonated far more than anything I've ever learned in a classroom. Dan was the best boss I've ever had, but Dan wasn't really a boss. He's a leader, and I've learned the difference over the years. And I'm really glad that the generation coming up now has the opportunity to learn from Dan. He will make a difference in your life because he actually cares. After I graduated from Post in 2013, Dan went out of his way to keep me on as production director. And I don't know if I've ever been able to accurately express how grateful I am for that. Because Dan saved more than just my job by doing that. And for that reason and for so many more, I am incredibly grateful for having Dan Cox in my life. Thank you for everything, Dan.
Thank you.
I'm also incredibly grateful for having Christina Kay in my life. Now, I came to the station with production experience that I built over many years, skills, but I didn't have radio experience. And Christina gave me the guidance that I needed in order to be worthy of that job. By watching her example, I learned how to carry myself as a young professional. It took some time, but I got there. But the most important thing that I learned from Christina's example was resilience. And she embodies that more than anyone I've ever met. Now, we worked well together, but we also realized that despite being very different people, as you highlighted, we got along really well. And in a short amount of time, Christina became a true friend in good times and bad. Every so often, Christina would come in, sit on the floor of the Batcave, and we'd just have these long talks about work and life in general, And we both needed those so much every time we had one of those. Some of my favorite memories of the station period are us working on those videos for the annual station dinner. The process of making those was just so fun and chaotic, and usually involved us staying at the station until almost midnight. And I completely forgot about that video for your sister, so I must have been blocking that. I must have been blocking that memory out. But I'm really happy that we have those memories. Now, I mentioned that the building became my home, but a building is just a building without the people inside of it. And if you were around in my day, the first person you'd see when you walked in the building was Janine. Now, whether you were walking in or out, at a station meeting, one of the on-campus events, Janine was always there to greet you with warmth and wit. And, I work from home now, which is a dream. But the thing I miss the most about working away from home is walking into that station and seeing Janine in the office every day. So, Janine, thank you for making the station feel like home. Now, the most at home I ever felt at the station was definitely on Thursday nights, because that's when I would stay late and hang out with my man Julian Wilson. Yes. Now, things are usually pretty quiet around the station on Thursday nights, but we put a stop to that. And sometimes it would be a whole group of us hanging around the station for the evening. We go pick up some dinner, usually Moe's or Chinese, bring it back to campus, and we just sit in the back and just talk and laugh and get into all sorts of shenanigans. Some of the most fun memories of my time at the station are memories of those hangouts. There were also outdoor barbecues outside the station, movie nights, karaoke nights, as Christina mentioned, you name it. If you were part of any of those things, you're part of why my experience at the station was special. On top of all that, I somehow managed to squeeze some learning into my schedule as well. I learned so much about the art of voiceovers from my favorite professor, Bernie Bernard. Thank you, Bernie. I also learned a lot about writing scripts from the late, great Tom Ruckert. I'm very thankful that I got a chance to work with Tom because he was an exceptional person, and he is missed. There were many show hosts and independent producers that I had a chance to work with over the years, and I learned a ton just by engineering those recording sessions, putting those shows together. Those were invaluable experiences. I also learned how to work with some really difficult people in certain cases. So yeah, thank you, even you, thank you. Over the years, I've had many opportunities to work with Hall of Famer Jeff Kroll. Whether it's production for the homecoming weekend or promos for the rock show, Jeff has just always been so easy to work with and is just a fountain of knowledge, especially about this station's history. And I'm really happy to be able to continue to work with Jeff on his promos even to this day. Thank you, Jeff. For the most part, I was a one-man production team, but I did have the opportunity to work with some really talented people, including Tamara Davis, who worked with me in the production department for a few years and was just exceptional at her craft. I'd also like to formally thank every single person I ever dragged into the Batcave to record a VO. I sincerely appreciate you all for helping to break up the monotony of my voice being on every other promo and piece of imaging. Thank you. One of my favorite things about my time at the station was the time I spent training others, whether they were post students, interns, attendees of the summer radio camp that we ran for a few years. Teaching others about audio production made me so much better at my craft. And I'm proud to know that some of my trainees have gone on to do some really great things in the field. The station gave me a lot. Skills, friendship, memories. I carry it all around with me every day. In fact, I love the station so much that it took a global pandemic to remove me physically from the building and from the position of production director. And I felt a lot of things coming out of that, but the one thing that I still feel is appreciation for the experience and for everyone who was a part of it and made it possible. I miss the station every day. I miss Dan, I miss Janine, I miss Christina, I miss all my friends. I miss the Batcave, rest in peace. Living 400 miles away now doesn't exactly help matters either. But I'm proud to say that I've continued to live out my dream of working in the production field, and I hope to continue that for as long as I can. But make no mistake, I wouldn't last a second without the foundation that I built at WCWP. I don't know if I left the station better than I found it. I hope I did. But what I do know for sure is that the station left me better than it found me. It means so much to be recognized by the Alumni Association and the generations of people who made this station what it is. And I'm really, really, truly grateful to be a small part of this station's great legacy. I'm glad that the legacy not only continues on, but is thriving. And I hope to be able to contribute to the station in some form or fashion as long as I'm here. I believe in what this station represents. It's a place where you can use your creativity, develop new skills, sharpen old skills, collaborate, share ideas and interests. You also have the added benefit of having your work heard on the air and online. And that type of good pressure really pushes you to constantly improve your craft. If you're lucky, the station is also a place you can call home, with people who will become lifelong friends. For me, the station is the place where all the elements came together. Thank you. Oh, you dropped the mic after that? That's not the mic drop you want.
Mike, could you take a quick picture of that? 1, 2, 3.
All right, I came this close to bawling my eyes out over there. You know, I just want to point out one thing, is that I never sat down in the Batcave, but Chris will remember this. If I was having a bad day, I'd end up in his doorway. And I would tell you why I was having a bad day. From my heart, my friend, you did a lot for me, just as much as I did for you. 9 years, it was such a pleasure to have you around. Oh. All right. This next goofball I got to talk about a little bit. Tony and I were together in the early part of the 80s it's hard to explain. We've been friends for over 40 years. You can't put the two of us in a room without being completely lost, because once we get started, it never stops. Winnie will tell you. But you leave crying in stitches because we'll do the voices and we'll do all the stupid things we did back then. Tony, he belongs here. He's been with us over 40 years on the air, not just associated, but he's been doing that awful Monday night show forever. So the two people who are going to come up and induct him worked with him on Post Serial. Now, if you remember Post Serial, it was a comedy show on Sunday nights. And I was very fortunate after doing my Sunday night show that they would ask me to stay and hang out with them. So anyway, let me bring up Lonnie, and Richie to induct Tony Traguardo. Come on.
I couldn't remember your last name. I'm sorry, Frazita.
Most nights I can't either.
Yeah, well, most nights I can't either. Yeah, you're right.
He's got to change the flag. He's got to fix it. He's got to fix it.
You're gonna have to hold this, Dan.
I'm not holding it. I know what bothered you, right? Yeah. Hang it on the chair.
So I do a lot of work with veterans. The flag's got to be positioned properly. You know, I have paper, by the way.
We have paper.
I just came in here and passed directions, you know? And now I got to come here and make a speech. And those two speeches were really hard to follow. They were wonderful, absolutely wonderful. I was at WKRP, WCWP, I'm sorry, WCWP, I don't even know when, 1979 I came here.
79.
And I started at the radio station. Candy, who's being inducted tonight, Ellyn, they were here. I did my first remote at the Co-Hall, and we proceeded to get drunk with the Cakes and Ales girls. And next thing you know, we're in a car driving across the Great Lawn, up the steps of the Amenity Building. And then I came crawling into the radio station on my hands and knees and met Tim Hernandez. And Tim said, "You think you're funny? Write something." So the next day I gave him 3 scripts. A week later I'm on Post Serial. I kind of took the reins over and met my lovely wife, who is here because I can't be trusted alone.
That's right.
So she always keeps me in check. But we got a call a few weeks ago and said, "We want you to induct Tony into the Hall of Fame, Tony Traguardo." First thing I said to Loni, "Who the hell is Tony Traguardo?" I mean, I didn't even remember who he was. And then I said, "Oh, Serial." And then I said, "Why is he getting inducted? We haven't been inducted. I haven't been invited here in 40 frickin' years. 40 frickin' years." So,
Really outrageous.
yes, bloody outrageous indeed. And I said, Hall of Fame, this is important stuff. This is for people who are legacies. These are people who have done something. It's not for people who spent decades walking around saying, "I know who 3 of the 4 Beatles were." Okay? But anyway, so they give me this list of things about why Tony should be inducted into the Hall of Fame. We'll see. It says here, and Danny had mentioned, he worked at WCWP in some capacity for 42 years. Now, I guess that's true. And the bathrooms have never looked cleaner, Tony. You keep it up, you get your own brush. Good job. It says he became a successful voiceover artist after graduation. Your career peaked when you were in that commercial for the deli and you got to yell, "Next." That was the highlight of Tony's career as a voiceover artist. He's a librarian. Tony, a librarian. I can't imagine that. He's a media archivist, a lecturer, a podcast host. He heads up the house band at the Port Washington National Public Library. A band at a library? Yeah, nothing says rock and roll like "Please Be Quiet," Tony. Come on. A band? He brought media personalities and musicians to the Tillis Center for the Performing Arts, Pete Fornatale, Art Garfunkel, Aztec Two-Step. Tony was the best Uber driver on Long Island. And he currently became, was it a 2.1 rating? 2.1, excellent. She wrote all this stuff. I didn't write this stuff. If you want the good stuff, you got to pay. And by the way, speaking of pay, we are getting reimbursed for mileage and tolls and stuff like that. I live in Florida. It's not cheap.
You could try.
It's okay. I'll steal some equipment. I've done that too.
That's it.
Tony helped build it says Tony helped build the station's music library and assisted countless students with research and academic projects. So basically, Tony spent years being helpful, which frankly should have raised suspicions right from the start. Tony was never helpful. And the last thing that I was surprised I didn't know about, he served on the board of the Long Island Music and Entertainment Hall of Fame. He helped them achieve 501c3 status, and he wrote and directed gala events for years. See, that's why there are no more gala events at the
Long Island
Hall of Fame, which, by the way, is around the corner. I've never been in there. We're out in Stony Brook. But in all seriousness, Tony represents something rare. He really does. I've known Tony, you were 16 when we first met, I think. Mm-hmm. It was love at first sight. He's one of those people who quietly keeps institutions alive. He shows up, he contributes, he helps others, he creates, he mentors, he preserves music, media, and community. For 42 years, I can't believe it's been 42 years. I still feel like that stupid 18-year-old kid. I act like it, according to her. But for 42 years, and throughout everything he's done, given his time, his humor, his talent, his heart to make things better for everybody, those kinds of people don't ask for recognition, which is exactly why they deserve it most. So I am very, very happy. I probably should let you do some speaking, but
No, it's okay. You keep going.
I'll pay for it later.
Roll.
Anyway, I'm happy to introduce my good friend, Tony Traguardo. He absolutely belongs in the WCWP Hall of Fame. I don't know why I'm not there and he is, but that's another story. But anyway, Tony, you deserve it, my friend. You really do.
I think one of our old.
Yes, I could read too. I'm waiting for the cue. Come on.
What? What are we doing?
Aren't you supposed to be playing some music?
No, you're supposed to tell me to play the music.
Oh, play the music.
Okay, I'll play the music.
I'm sorry, I analyze clinical studies now for a living. I haven't done broadcasting in a long time. What is that music? I can't even hear him. I'm partially deaf. Sounds like an old Post serial character coming up. It's not loud enough.
Not loud enough.
You got to make it louder, Tony. Make it louder. Come on, man. Raise it up. Raise it up a little bit.
It louder. Listen, this went so well in rehearsal.
It went great in the
Great in rehearsal. What happened?
You're always screwing up my bits. You're always screwing them up.
It is time, my friends, for the humble return of the Swami Origami. I have come back to all of you with a few predictions and pointers for 2026. I have been away for a long time, living in the woods, surrounded by beautiful trees and wildlife. He had a cue there. One cue you think the man would get.
What was the line again?
Spirituality.
Oh, spiritual retreat.
No, I was hiding from the feds after a Ponzi scheme went south. Anyway, I predict, my friends, that the star of the Deadpool movies will record a huge hit song. But unfortunately, the song title will prompt a massive lawsuit from the company that owns Reynolds Wrap. Don't groan, I haven't done this in 40 years. And that was before these were considered just dad jokes. Anyway, Swami also says, when you are looking to avoid an earthquake, if you find a fault, don't dwell on it. And finally, remember, my friends, if we truly want world peace, we must live like nomads. That is a world where I nomad at you and you nomad at me. The Swami loves you all. Thank you. What? Step out of it! Oh, sorry. Okay. Oh, hi. Hi. What the hell am I doing here? Oh, yeah. I'm at the White House? Oh, that's very bad. Is the idiot here? Oh, no, I'm sorry. Did I say that in my out loud voice? Oh, my God. I'm sorry. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to try to keep this relatively short. For those of you who know me, you're already rolling your eyes. Thank you to Rich and Loni, my longtime radio cohorts, for coming out tonight, and the first ones who welcomed me to WCWP. And yes, we all realize that Post Serial would have been canceled after about the first 8 minutes if we debuted in 2026. I mean, we put the singing nun in a minefield, Rich. The singing nun in a mine. Anyway, a big thank you to fearless leader Dan Cox. Thank you, of course, to the nominating committee for their wonderful sense of taste. For having voted me in, seriously. And thank you to everyone who came here willing to hear me rambling. Who've joined us here tonight for a truly wonderful celebration. I want to, of course, congratulate Cande, Ellyn, and Chris, my fellow inductees in the Hall of Fame class of 2025. Chris, I feel terrible. You said hi back there before. I hadn't recognized you. So I feel awful. But anyway, congratulations. I'm humbled to be sharing this honor with you three extremely talented and accomplished people. And of course, congratulations, Avery, on your well-deserved award for outstanding service and dedication. You so deserve it. First and foremost, I would like to thank... Jeez, did I read this? Hold on a minute. First and foremost, I want to thank my wife, my partner in crime, my partner in life, Bonnie to my Clyde, my best friend, and very importantly, within tonight's group, my co-host, Winifred Boyd, Winnie is the one who reignited the spark and renewed my love for doing radio on 4F, free format for free, the Monday night edition of The Rock Show. I digress. It's like automatic, right? We just do that. Anyway, it's amazing. And the funny part, this is crazy, after 20 years of us being together, I just only found out today, seriously, that I used Winnie's film program that she was doing at Southampton to push Bill Moser to allow us at WCWP to sponsor movies at the Hillwood. Never knew that, so that was kind of cool. When I first walked into WCWP in the fall of 1982, as Richie mentioned, I was a 16-year-old freshman. And understandably, some folks were not quite sure what to do with this very young and enthusiastic whippersnapper. WCWP, after 43 years, 43 friggin' years. And nobody mentioned, what was it? What happens when you have too many beers? WCWP. Anyway, it was a place that was buzzing, constantly active, constantly alive, very positive during a time when FM radio was still thriving and growing. And the station was filled with many kind, ambitious, knowledgeable people willing to share what they knew and encourage success for their fellow co-workers and co-students. And truthfully, we all worked hard, and we played hard, especially if you were part of the Midnite Progressive crew, which I was. There we go. In fact, I often stop to think, wow, if these walls could talk. And damn, I was glad that they couldn't. Not that they'd ever say anything about me, but we truly learned more about the world that we wanted to enter professionally during our time at WCWP than we did in most of our classes. I mean, let us ask ourselves, had Herb Norman ever actually heard FM radio? Ever? Anyway, sorry. Anyway, we knew that if we were all doing our best individually, that collectively we would have this wonderful station that we can all be proud of. And we were. And it's wonderful to know that under Dan's current leadership, that the young people who go there every day still hold to that philosophy. And I also realized after Winnie and I spent some time with these incredible young people the other night that some things have not changed. The station was a haven for me, a haven for so many of us. And we were all often a haven for one another. There were no parents or teachers there. It was basically a place for us to exist on our own terms. And at that point in our lives, at that point all of your lives, this is something that we truly needed. There's a book called Everything I Need to Know I Learned in Kindergarten. Now, I mean, no disrespect to the memory of my amazing parents, who actually drove me to the station for late night shifts on so many occasions because I was 16 when I started school. I didn't get a car till I was a junior. But I learned so much about life, about myself, and about how to pursue my passions at WCWP. And I think about how little sleep I did it on back then. I would do a Midnite Progressive shift from 12 to 3, then my oldies overnight show from 3 to 6, then I'd engineer Chris McIntosh's show from 6 to 8, then I would sub for a usually suspended Mark Silver on Rock and Roll Weekend. Then I would sleep on the couch in the lobby from noon to 2 when Rich and Lonnie would arrive for us to start working on Post Serial. And all of this, damn it, without the aid of pharmaceuticals. But rest assured, all that aside, there was no other job that I held for many years after I graduated that contributed as much to my social skills, my ability to express myself as WCWP did. But I also never got suspended at any of my other jobs. Fired maybe, but not suspended. And my favorite WCWP suspension story, and yes, there were a few, involved Fearless Leader. It's a window into how times have changed in the world of broadcasting. It was a Sunday night. You know where this is going. We're doing Post Serial. Dan, as he mentioned, would be taking the listener phone calls between 8:15 and 9:15. And then he would take maybe 5 minutes to edit it all down to the most ridiculous things that the callers had said, with a grease pencil and a razor, okay? And we'd air the tape at maybe 9:25. After that, Dan would hang out and basically just bother the hell out of us. Now, I usually sat across from Rich and Loni, and I never knew what was going on under the desk. But anyway, they were riffing for a while, and my microphone was down. Now, I was trying to pay attention to them, but Dan was standing behind me, and quite casually, stuffing rolled up wads of unused tissue paper down the front of my shirt. I was trying not to let it faze me or to pay Dan any mind at all, but of course I was now distracted. And the very moment that Rich brought my mic up to get a response to something that he had said, I looked lovingly over my shoulder at Dan and said, "Danny's giving me nice titties." Needless to say, the room cracked up and the red phone, the Moser bat phone, lit up. And I was gone for 2 weeks, just like that. I also got some time off when Moser pulled up in the Volvo and caught 7 of us in a circle outside the station sharing a smoke. While one of us, late Dave Caggiano, was supposed to be doing a board shift. Now, this was a problem, but what really caused the problem was when the non-student in the group took a look at Moser, walked up to him, and said, "Hey man, can I borrow that?" And took an alligator clip off of his belt to use as a roach clip. We all got suspended. But of course, after one day, Moser had to bring a few of us back. Otherwise, who the hell was going to make sure that Gary Null was on the air? One thing that I did for the radio station actually many things had quite an impact on my life. But there was research that I had to do for my overnight show, and it sent me to the Port Washington Library for countless hours. Or I'd pore over microfilm and newspapers to find out what had happened on certain weeks during specific years. And I would program the show and plan all my raps based on that. It was work. But I had fun doing it. And it was really great fun when a caller would call up when I was doing a show that took place in 1967 and say, "Hi, can you hear a song by Billy Joel?" I'd say, "You want to hear a song by who?" "Oh, Billy Joel, man." And I'd say, "Never heard of him. There's some guy that plays keyboards in the group The Hassles named Billy Joel, but, is that him?" Well, some folks would pick up on what I was doing. They get the joke, they play along. They call back the next week when I was doing 1963 and make sure they didn't ask to hear Metallica. And a few of the folks did get it from as far away as Connecticut, where they would hang the rabbit ears out the window to get the radio station in. Actually ended up becoming lifelong friends, which was amazing. But I look at my life now, and boy, did that research pay off in other ways. I'm about to celebrate my 28th year as a librarian at that very same library. How crazy. And we no longer have a microfilm machine. That's the one thing that's different. And ironically, my job at the library led to Winnie and I working for many years with 2 dear friends, WLIR's Dennis McNamara and the late, great Pete Fornatel. So isn't it strange how things can just go so cyclically? Beatle Tracks was a show I co-created with my dear friend Kathy Van Tassel, one of the greatest editors with a grease pencil and a razor blade. Her and Roger Lucier. And that was an entrance into a world that I still inhabit with my podcast. And that led to some life-changing introductions and experiences. And it's nice that events that were connected to that show, like having the Beatles' Pete Best here for his very first extensive live U.S. interview at WCWP, gave the station some additional exposure at the time, and that was nice. And I'm also delighted and proud to have been able to continually work with Dan and my wife, Winnie, to arrange for additional programming, for promotional and fundraising opportunities for WCWP. And yes, Dan, even if it meant having to deal with that prick Art Garfunkel one more time. Sorry, say that in my out loud voice. And it's also so rewarding as time goes on to watch the students buzz at WCWP as we once did. As the station continues to foster young people who will make our collective future a better place, just as we, all of us here tonight, have done throughout our professional careers and personal lives. In closing, I truly want to thank you all so much for this honor. I'm looking forward to working with my fellow inductees on future nominations and future inductions. And finally, let's all keep in mind that our voices, individually and collectively, in this medium and in any other that puts us out there, still has the power to change the world. Thank you, everyone.
Welcome back. Part 2 of our evening will now begin. So everybody knows who Arthur Beltrone is, right? And if you don't, I'm going to give a short explanation. Art was a student who came to LIU Post College, which is what it was called when I went to school there, in 1961. He came from Sewanaka High School. Art had a radio station at his high school. It doesn't exist there anymore, but there was an FM radio station at his high school. And he came to Post, and his first question out of his mouth is, "Where's the radio station?" And he was told, "There is no radio station." So, Art being Art, he found Mr. Costin, Dr. Costin, and Professor Jackson, and with Hank Niemark, they cajoled the university into getting an FM starting a radio station. It was carrier current. Oh, I'm getting ahead of myself. Carrier current. Hank would be the impetus for the FM.
Explain what carrier current is.
Oh yeah. What it is it's a very high voltage box that sits in a room in the dormitory, and it connects to the electrical system of the building, therefore creating an antenna of every outlet and wire in the walls. So if you connect an audio signal to that, it then becomes an AM radio station. But anyway, Art got these guys to pull this off. And of course, 4 years later, like a lot of colleges around the country, I told this story, I don't know if I told it last year, I told it this year, it's a lecture I give in my classes, that the children or the students of the 50s who grew up on rock and roll and transistor radios got to their radio stations in the 60s and demanded a voice. And that's why so many FM radio stations were created at college campuses in the 1960s, with few exceptions. My favorite, WERS in Boston, which has been around for, 75 years, but because that college is very old. But anyway, that's how the evolution. So Art is a founder. He's one of the first people we put into the Hall of Fame back in 2012. And what Pete decided a couple of years ago was that we should honor him with a special award for a graduating senior who worked at the radio station. And this will be, I think, the third one we've given out. Yeah. And this year it's going to go to Avery Cochikas, who is, but I can speak about Avery, but I'd like Pete to say a few words, because Avery started with you as a freshman, now it's going to end with me as a senior. So why don't you come up and say a few words. He's losing his voice, so stay real close to the mic. He only worked in radio for what, 25 years now? Come on.
Please bear with me with my voice. Thank you. For 2 years, I had the honor of working with some of the most talented students, including Avery, and it was the best 2 years of my career. I miss it very much. Avery, you're here today not just for your WCWP accomplishments, but for your quality of character. The first time I met you, I knew I was talking to someone driven to excel in your way in whatever you do. Music, broadcasting, what have you. You also care about people in a business where that's few and far between. And it was an honor to be a part of your WCWP career in its early stages. I'm very proud of you, very proud of all the students that I worked with, and wish you nothing but the best moving forward. And Art Beltrone is the salt of the earth to a lot of people in this room. I think the world of the man. And to be in the same group as Art Beltrone says something about you and your character. Congratulations.
Stay to the side. You want to get a picture?
Okay, so I get the last 2 years with Avery. All right. Oh, by the way, he's a new father. He just, how long ago was he born? A week ago today. Okay, so I get back to WCWP, and I explained this to the students the other night at our annual dinner. They didn't know what to make of me. Who the hell was I? Yeah, whatever. They were very accepting, a little skittish at first, but we all got together and we all do exactly what Pete was just talking about, giving them opportunities to do the best that they can. And Avery was already on FM. You'd put her on FM. And you're still on FM, and you're going to stay after graduation, right? Because I got that hole in the program. Whenever you want. Tony's been here 42 years. Go for it, kiddo.
I'll beat his record.
There you go. There you go. I can't say much more than what Pete said because I've heard Avery sing. I've heard her music. She wanted to use her show for her music, but just plays a lot of emo. I don't understand that. An extraordinary human being, an extraordinary talented human being, who I agree will be whatever she does. She's going to be incredible at it because the drive and determination. So I got to tell this story, Avery. I'm sorry, I'm about to embarrass you. We're standing at the radio station, I think it was yesterday, looking at the Hall of Fame, and Avery says, I'm going to be on this board one day. I said, maybe in a couple of years. I said, well, there's a 10-year waiting period. So I counted, and I said, this chip right here, that one's yours. And she smiled, and she said, okay. And I believe it. I believe we're going to be, well, probably not me, probably not you, probably not some of us in the room might be standing here, but the day Avery goes into the Hall of Fame will be one of the proudest moments for both of us. Because an extraordinary student, an extraordinary president of The Wave, which you were for a year, and this year you're the social media director, gives everything, gives it all, and more. And that's why she should get the Art Beltrone Award. So come up and get it. Take a picture with her? Yes. I'll hold the mic there. Unless you want to hold it. I mean, okay. 1, 2, 3. Now, wait a minute, let me get 1, 2. Yes. Stay here. 1, 2, 3. Go give a speech.
Why am I saying okay?
All right. Hello. So I just remember that I should probably give a speech last night. So I wrote it today while I was at dinner for my boyfriend's niece's communion. But I think it's going to turn out okay because I wrote my speech for station dinner on the way to station dinner.
That was a good one.
Thank you. So from the moment I came to the station, I knew that it was something I would stick with. I knew this was something I wanted to dedicate my time and energy to. I didn't know, however, that I would not only be dedicated to the craft and to the organization, but also to the community and to the people themselves. The station has become my home, and the people in it my family. So a special thank you to all my friends who came tonight to support me without me even having to ask. You guys are the real ones. When I met Vincent in particular, I wanted to say I got to know him, and the dedication he had to the station and the people in it made me feel even stronger about spending my time here. And his willingness to help whoever was interested in the station, not only with learning the equipment and the show structure, but also with any personal things we wanted to talk about, made me feel welcome here. And it made me feel like I had a friend, and 3 years later, I'm happy to still be calling Vincent my friend, and to have him here. Also, one of my friends, and Becca, and of course my boyfriend, who all came to support me tonight. And I saw Vincent receiving this award 2 years ago, right? 2 years ago. And that was another thing that I saw it happening, and I was like, that's gonna be me one day. And I'm so proud and honored to be up here receiving this award tonight in front of all of you. And it's been a goal of mine ever since then. But it's not only the support from all of my peers, but of course the little extra pushes I've gotten throughout my time at the station from the members, the 2 station members that I worked with, and that's all. And to pursue my personal career goals, and to pursue more in the field of radio as well. Dan actually sent me to the IBS conference. That's the name of it.
Keep going, they gotta change the name of the organization.
They gotta change it. He sent me to that with Amy last year, and at this conference, I walked in late because it was my first time taking a train ever, and I missed the train. So me and Amy walked in late to Kelly Ford of The Wolf. She was talking about country music. And I didn't know who it was at first because obviously I never saw her face. She was on the radio. But as soon as she said her name, I was like, oh my gosh, Kelly Ford. I listened to her. So after she finished speaking, everyone went up to her to ask individual advice, and her being Kelly Ford gave out her phone number to every single person she met. And I am so happy that this experience led me to be working with Connoisseur Media, and I actually work with Christina Kay now. I'm on the promotions team now, so it's not like I'm actually broadcasting, but I'm very happy to be there. It's my favorite job that I've had, and so I'd like to thank everyone who got me to that position, and thank you to Christina for being like the best person to talk to on the job. Yeah, if I know you're gonna be the jock that day, I know it's gonna be a good day. And I just want to give a big thank you to everyone I've met on this journey, to my classmates, the e-board members I looked up to, alumni, Pete and Dan. Your kindness, openness, and friendship has meant everything to me. And it's not only through some of my efforts and the grace of God, but also through the doors you all have helped to open for me that have gotten me where I am today. And hopefully I will reach more of my goals in the future. And I just wanted to also talk about this one memory that I remembered earlier tonight at this dinner. But when I was a freshman and I didn't have any friends on campus, or so I thought, I was playing my first ever public show, my first show that I ever played with a band. And I distributed about 50 flyers to the people that I had met so far, and about 6 people ended up showing up. It was a free show, mind you, but Vincent was one of them. And Vincent's the only person who has remained my friend since then. And Vincent is maybe the first person I met at the station, because I think you were like the main person talking at the meeting I walked in on. The people at the station, I just know that they're going to be my lifelong friends, and I'm very happy about that, and I'm honored to be friends with all of you, and I'm honored to be a part of this station, because these are genuinely the best memories in my life, being at the station, being at parties with you all, just hanging out late on Thursdays, whatever it is that we do together. Those are the memories that will stick with me throughout my entire life of college, because they're the best experience I could ask for in college. So thank you all for being a part of that.
Thank you, Avery. We're going to move on to Ellyn Solis. And unlike the previous people, she has an entourage inducting her. So I'd like to welcome up Kim Dillon, Cande Roth, and Chris Poppe, who is also the Vice President of Marketing for Sony Music. So Avery, you should talk to her before you leave tonight. I mean him, I'm sorry. Him or her, I'm sorry. All right, so come on up, let's go.
So I truly didn't know I was doing this. Thanks for that. Get you later. Listen, everything everyone has said about WCWP is, I looked over at Cande and Ellyn when I think it was Avery who said, I'll have these as lifelong friends. And I look around here and I have lifelong friends here. Dan and Kaz and Deb and Larry and Ellyn and Cande and Lou. And I mean, these are our posses. And we're very fortunate to have had that place in our lives. So again, I'm sorry I'm ill-prepared, but I couldn't love these people more, Ellyn and Cande specifically. We've lived together, we've cried together, lost parents together. These are, Avery, stick with your posse here, because they will be truly your friends for life. And they are very, very accomplished, and I will let the other presenters really run through these things of their accomplishments in business and in our craft, but they are also accomplished as friends to one another. So have a wonderful induction. I can't find better people. And thanks, Dan, for giving me the opportunity. Welcome to the Hall of Fame.
Cande? You got your notes.
All right, on paper. Well, what can I say about my dear friend Ellyn? She's my ride or die, for sure, for life. We met in the 3rd grade, and I think I was interested in her because she was the only person I ever saw with red hair. And since 3rd grade, we've been sisters ever since. We did a lot of things together, and it's been amazing. Almost 60 years of friendship, and that is to be applauded in and of itself. We've never run out of things to say. We could be on the phone for 45 minutes, and 15 minutes later, we're on the phone for another 45 minutes. And this happens a lot. And so you found your person when you can talk about anything, and they always have your back. So for some reason, we decided to go to college together and be roommates. It's not an easy thing to do, but like a good marriage, we powered through that, and we're still alive. I started on the radio while Ellyn, what was naturally for her, and that is to be a publicist. There is no one better. While I was having babies, Ellyn was traveling with Celine Dion, Pearl Jam, Rage Against the Machine, and Alice in Chains, just to name a few. Ellyn has always been the one to get it done. I'm so proud of the career she had, the wonderful things she was doing, and we still never ran out of things to say. And then Ellyn became a mom to my dear sweet Esme, who I love almost as much as her mother does. We became motherhood together, I should say we shared motherhood together, and we are aunties, and we are family. Throughout it all, Ellyn's skills at getting things done have only improved. To me, it seems she can do anything. If she wasn't a publicist, she would have been a detective, an investigator. She can do the impossible. God help you if she's looking for you. I once had to go to the hospital. Ellyn lived in another state. I was having an appendicitis. I was in the emergency room when a nurse comes in and said, "Your sister's on the phone." I knew it was Ellyn, and she tracked me down. We had a blast at WCWP, there's no doubt about it. And we basically took over a lot of things at the station while we were there. We developed Radio Week, which I hope you all continue to do at some point with podcasters or whoever you want. But what we did is we had really nice talent from around the area come to our campus and talk to our students. And it was very exciting. We had Jim Kerr, who I'm sure you've all heard of, Meg Griffin, Ray White, and that's just to name a few. I'm honored to be here awarding Ellyn with this Hall of Fame honor tonight, but I think in reality it should be a Hall of Fame human being for life. I love you, my dear friend, my sister. Here's to many more years of never running out of things to say.
And Chris. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Chris Poppe, and I have the privilege of inducting my friend Ellyn Solis into the WCWP Hall of Fame. The skills that Ellyn learned at CW Post and the CW Post radio station as news director, on-air news reporter, and DJ for Midnite Progressive helped lead her to a successful career and life. Ellyn and I met years ago at Epic Records, where Ellyn was a publicist and I was a marketer. Ellyn worked with a few artists you may have heard of, which Cande mentioned: Pearl Jam, Celine Dion, Rage Against the Machine, Living Color, and many more. Her friend Susan Silver, longtime manager of multi-platinum and Grammy-nominated bands including Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, and Screaming Trees, as well as a longtime friend of Ellyn's, has this to say about her. Congratulations to my friend and colleague Ellyn, who is one of the best strategic thinkers I know. She reliantly finds creative solutions, whether to a public relations or life crisis or the rollout of a full press campaign. Her passion and dedication to her work and to her family are truly inspiring. I consider her to be one of a fairly small group of people in my inner circle, and beyond trusting her implicitly, I respect her enormously. Stone Gossard, guitarist for Pearl Jam, has this to say about Ellyn. Ellyn Solis was there from the beginning when this all started with Pearl Jam, before it was anything close to what it is today. She understood the story early and helped shape how it was told. It's great to see her being recognized for the work she clearly built her reputation on. Well deserved. After leaving Epic Records and Sony Music, Ellyn's career continued to flourish. Ellyn was the first U.S. publicist for the worldwide musical sensation from South Korea, BTS. Ellyn founded her own company with clients from Virgin Records to mom and pop music. Michael Goldstone, A&R Pro, who signed Pearl Jam and Rage Against the Machine, and is the founder of the indie record label Mom and Pop Music, has this to say. Ellyn is a visionary, and we currently still work together after so many years. Her media acumen and innate musical talents were hugely impactful at Epic, where she helped us break Pearl Jam and Rage. I was in A&R then, and we grew up together in this business. Ellyn taught me so much about artistry and talent, and yes, a bit about the politics of a major label. She was a compass for me and never shied away from having a strong point of view. Yet she always was the consummate team player, great music taste, and a catalyst in breaking so many bands at Epic around those times. I know Ellyn as a person who lives her life to the fullest. I will be at home doing my laundry while Ellyn is regaling me with stories of her attending concerts, Broadway plays, speaking engagements, going door to door to support her political candidates, but also walking her dogs and enjoying her life. I admire Ellyn for knowing what she wants and going directly after it. On a personal and important note, one night many years ago, Ellyn and I were having dinner, bemoaning the fact that we didn't have boyfriends or boyfriend prospects, and wondering how all of the men didn't understand how fabulous we were. After a while, we sat there in silence, and then she turned to me and said, "Someday I'm going to have her daughter, and her name will be Esme." And I thought, good for you, it's nice to have a dream, and a very specific dream at that. And now Ellyn has a wonderful, beautiful, smart, talented daughter who is a recent college graduate and who currently works in Washington, D.C. for Senator Andy Kim from the great state of New Jersey. And her name is Esme. I know Ellyn Solis, I love Ellyn Solis, and I and her friends and family thank WCWP for honoring her and celebrating her career and her life. Congratulations to WCWP for choosing her for the Hall of Fame. And congratulations, Ellyn, on this great honor.
I'll wait for you. When you're ready. Ready? Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
Very well color coordinated too.
I know, amazing, right? You approve? I'm so glad. Evan, that's it. I can die happy now. Can I use this? Is that, which one do you think?
Well, this one works better.
This one's better? Okay, no problem. That's fine. You know, standing under this, the White House, my true fantasy is to be C.J. Craig from The West Wing, so this is just fantastic. Hi, everyone. First, thank you to Dan for his tireless work in putting this all together and the whole weekend that he's put together for you guys, and to the nominating committee for this honor. It's really beautiful and touching. And thank you so much, Chris, Cande, and Kim, for those beautiful words. I love each one of you. And I'm touched by the words from Susan Silver and Michael Goldstone, and especially Stone. It's been over 30 years since Pearl Jam's 10 came out, and the fact that he remembers those early days means a lot to me. The fact that he remembers my name at all means a lot to me. It's not always that way. My story started in Monticello, New York, in the heart of the Borscht Belt, with a musician dad and stepdad and a mom who was obsessed with music and movies. So in many ways, my path may have been inevitable. But still, when I arrived here at CW Post, I didn't find my footing right away. There was a strike where the teachers were on strike. It was 1977, before most of you people in the back were a glimmer in your mother's eyes. The olden days in the 1900s. And Cande and I only knew each other. And we were getting sick of each other really fast. And then we met Yvonne, who is here tonight. She's our sister from other misters as well. And we met her on the food line at orientation, and we were fast friends. It was fantastic. But she was the only other person we knew. So everything changed when I found WCWP. It was my gateway. It's where I found my tribe. And it's nice to see, younger people feeling the same way, because it's a beautiful legacy that kind of carried over. The bar was high at the radio station. So much talent. You mentioned Tim Hernandez and Cosmo. and Jimmy Green, who you guys don't know, but Tom Riley. There were a lot of competition and a lot of talent. And I still can't believe they let me on the air. I was a terrible DJ on Midnite Progressive. And I have the air checks to prove it. I saved them. but I did the news. I produced. I tried to channel my idol, Ben Manila from WLIR. And through all of that, I started to find my voice and see what might be possible. I still didn't know where that path would lead until Bill Moser, who really should be here tonight, it's a crime, he better be watching from home, gave me a chance to work as a vacation relief engineer at NBC the summer after graduation. That became a full-time union job. I was a Teamster, okay? I was a 21-year-old girl and I was a Teamster, where I was one of only 2 women on staff, and I'm pretty sure I was a quota hire. I was wildly underqualified. I often think of the late Bill Epperhart, who was overqualified, who had to put up with me. He was a CW postgraduate as well. And I earned every one of his scowls, spilling water on the board, skipping needles across vinyl, zero interest in transmitters and how the station actually worked. I exasperated him, but over time he got used to me, and eventually he started talking to me. I think I made him sort of laugh once, and I loved him for it. There were incredible pop culture happenings at that time. Saturday Night Live was down the hall. Howard Stern arrived at WNBC, working with Dr. Ruth Westheimer and the legendary Sid Mark spinning Sinatra records. But deep down, I knew it wasn't where I was supposed to be. The turning point came in 1981 after going to see The Clash live at Bonds in New York City. I rolled straight into work, knowing I needed to find my why, and I found it in the most unlikely place. This is a lesson to the younger people here. It was a Cosmopolitan article about celebrity publicists. There was a checklist of skills. I ticked every box, and that was it. Everything clicked. I checked my NABIT book, if you know, you know. I was a Teamster after all, and I could be paid for a year to leave. I took the leap. Then I built the career I dreamed of, leaning into what I was good at, writing, communicating, and connecting. As my sister Yvonne always says, do what you're good at, and you'll be successful. And I had the honor of working with many artists I admired at Rodgers & Cowan, Atlantic Records, Epic Records, and the PR agency I founded. But the Epic era, the big 90s, well, I found my super tribe, Chris among them. Working with Pearl Jam and Rage, with those folks, shaped my own narrative. They weren't just great artists. They brought purpose and meaning to what they did. Pearl Jam took on social issues we all cared about, reproductive rights, mental health, and poverty. And Rage, well, the lyric, fuck you, I won't do what you tell me. And some of those that burn crosses are the same that hold office, pretty much tells the story. Being a part of that team, shepherding their climb, showed me that the work we were doing was important. Among the millions of lessons I've learned along that path, I have 2 big takeaways. One, it was the mass media era then. Radio, TV, print, much more simple. We went from that world of shared information to a world of personalized reality. It used to be filtered by editors. Now it's filtered by algorithms, studying what we want to hear and echoing it back. And that shift has changed, not just what we know, but how we see each other. The effect is it divides us more than ever. To combat that, we have to reach beyond our own bubbles. Ask the hard questions, and learn. Through this incredibly chaotic time, we have to stay diligent so that the divisiveness doesn't overpower our common goals. I first understood the power of communication at WCWP, and it's been central to my life, personally and professionally. If we stay connected, we can get through this, even in a time that feels as difficult and divided as this one. 2, as meaningful as my career is, and it is, what matters most to me is the life I've built around it. At its center is my daughter Esme, my hero, my inspiration, and my greatest contribution to the future. I love you, Cherub. And alongside Esme, this incredible circle of family and friends, most of whom are here tonight. Yvonne, Candy, Kim, Chris, Jill, all your families. You are how I measure a life well lived, even as I carry with me the ones we've lost. That circle informs how I live my life every day. Bruce Springsteen, our poet, once said he hoped he'd been a good traveling companion. I love that. We lean on each other, we give something to the people in our lives, and hopefully leave something meaningful behind. I'm so grateful for this journey, my memories of WCWP, and all of you here tonight. Thank you again for this honor.
All right. 1, 2, 3. Get it? That's good. That's good.
All right. Okay, the network's going to cut us off at 11, so we really got to get this going. You know what it is? Unlike the Oscars and all those shows, I won't play people off. This is an opportunity for you to tell us who you are and why you're here, and for all of us to learn about you. And I will not stop anyone, even if we're here all night. Next inductee is Cande Roth. And also, Cande will also be... are you ready for this, Kim? Because you're first. Okay, you gotta go. Kim Dillon, Ellyn Solis, and, well, I'll get to the third one when we get to it.
So, Cande Roth and Ellyn Solis, as I mentioned, my best friends, lifelong friends. Cande Roth, I lived with on and off for several years, and after Post, and then my first job was at WSUL in Monticello. How that happened, pure fate. Yeah, I wound up living because we made very, very little in that time. I think that, in fact, my paychecks bounced at the radio station that I worked at. Anyway, I was fortunate enough to live with Candy's mother. So I was 23, Edie was 63, and Candy's grandmother was 83. And we all lived together in on Nail Shore Drive in Monticello. And for that, I will be eternally grateful, because no one would rent me an apartment based on what I was paid. So, but they paid me back in love. And, truly, they were my family when I didn't really have a family. So, Ellyn and Cande were my family, and the radio station started that. So, anyway, Cande, a very talented, got her first job in Asbury Park, right? In Asbury Park, and we'd go down there and have great time on the weekends. So anyway, I won't belabor this. Others will talk about all of her accomplishments in radio. But again, Ellyn and Cande, Hall of Fame friends forever. So thank you. Thank you.
I love that shirt. I love that shirt.
I'm happy it still fits.
Yeah.
So take a look, people. So hello again. Cande and I have been traveling life's road together for, like she said, over 5 decades. We met in elementary school, survived the tortures of middle school and the angst of high school, and through one of those moments of synchronicity, both ended up at CW Post. We arrived again as a teacher strike began, knowing only one person, our friend Yvonne, whom we met on the first day. She's here, and we're honored. Because of the strike, we had little to do, and so we were ruminating about going to the radio station, and we finally went, fear, clutching us. As communications majors, we had heard such great things about this little building behind Hillwood Commons. To say that walking in there changed our lives would be an understatement. It was one of those moments where you instantly know you found your people. When I asked Cande what she remembers most from those early days, she said simply, "It's where I fell in love with radio, all of it." This t-shirt I'm wearing represents the heart of our time at WCWP. One of Candy's passions was becoming a DJ, and we became part of a group of night owls and misfits who were obsessed with music and the free-form radio of the time, WLIR, WNEW, and WPLJ, and the legendary voices who shaped them. Ray White, Dennis McNamara, Meg Griffin, Vin Scelsa, Scott Muni, Ben Manila, and others. We called ourselves Midnite Progressive, and we took over the overnights, carving out our own space separate from the daytime and AM radio crowd, the cool kids, or at least we thought so. Cande was immediately chosen for the coveted midnight to 4 a.m. slot. She had that unmistakable radio voice and took to it naturally, talking up records, exploring new music, and championing artists like her favorite Elvis Costello. She handled public service announcements, and together we became co-news directors. From the very beginning, she displayed natural talent, bringing intelligence, her rare wit, and confidence to the airwaves, and she quickly rose to the top of her game. Her career took her from Asbury Park, where she worked at WJLK and helped shine a light on emerging artists, someone named Bon Jovi, to becoming a trusted voice, helping New Yorkers navigate their daily commutes as an in-demand traffic reporter. She's been a staple across the New York tri-state airwaves, with appearances on The Howard Stern Show, a long stint at Good Day New York, and most recently, as part of a morning show duo here on Long Island with her brother from another mother, Phathead, who you'll hear from next. Cande is incredibly deserving of this honor as a radio pro, but just as deserving for the life she's built alongside her career. She's an amazing mom to Casey and Evan, her sons that are here tonight, a loving mother-in-law to Jackie, her bubby to her granddaughter Maeve, who is the light of her life and has welcomed Evan's partner Rodrigo into the family. Lucky all of us. She's a wonderful partner to Brian, and to me, she remains a loyal, honest, pain-in-the-ass sister as we navigate all of life's highs and lows. After all these years, like Cande said, we still haven't run out of things to say, and I literally wouldn't be standing here without her. Bitch, it is my absolute honor to help induct you into the WCWP Hall of Fame.
Okay. Our last inductor is Adam Zuckerberg, also known as Phathead, from WJVC Radio here on Long Island. All right, bitch, huh? Okay. It's an honor. It really is an honor to be here tonight. Thank you, Cande, for allowing me to do this. Some of the people that Ellyn mentioned that you've worked with, Howard Stern, Scott Muni, right, Frankie Crocker, Jay Thomas. You've done a lot with a lot of legends. And lucky for me, Howard's too big and the other three are dead. Here I am. Thank you. I drew that straw. That is correct. So we'll take you back. A couple of things here. I want to go back to when I first met or was, I want to say, introduced to Cande. I was 12 going on 13. This is one of the most famous stories we've told on our show. We'll get to some of those in a second also. But 1985 or so, it was about 12 or 13, driving on the Belt Parkway between Coney Island and the Verrazano, and I remember it vividly. I think it was WNEW, all right? I turned to my father and I said, I'm going to work with that woman one day. Cande refutes the story. I believe it's true anyway, but I do remember that. I was a radio kid. I would tape Howard Stern before I went to school, and as a 12-year-old, I don't know if that was a good thing back then with the stuff he was doing, but I would put a tape in and then listen to it when I got home. So I do remember a lot of that stuff from back in the day. And then 17 years later, I would work with her starting in about 2002 or so. So, you know, the beginning of the career, obviously the first half of your career, with all those legends that we talked about, and we do have Howard Stern in common. That was a bonding point for us, for sure. But for the last 22 to 23 years of her 46-year career, yes, right? We have hosted a morning show together. And first met you at WBLI with some part-time stuff. We really started the morning show together in 2004 on WMJC, and we were doing that for about 6 years or so till they gutted the staff. We all know about that in radio. And then we went over to WJVC, and we've been bringing country music to Long Island since 2011, and we have continued the hosting for the last 15 years for a total of about 22 to 23 years. Here's the fun side note of all that.
This is only the second time ever in our lives that we have seen each other in person. We met the first time about 15 years ago at a Rascal Flatts concert. You're welcome. I got you those tickets. And figured, you know what, the best thing for a work wife and a work husband is to sleep in separate states, and that's what we did. But truly, she started as what was supposed to be the traffic reporter, which, by the way, just as Ellyn alluded to, tens of millions of people in the tri-state area grew up, listened to, went to work with you, heard the voice. Everybody knew Candy's voice. Even when I started hosting and we started doing the show together, people would, oh, that's Candy. Yeah, I hear her on this station and this station. And yeah. So it was an incredible career up until the time we started together. And then we did begin together, and we started doing the show over equipment. You were in Jersey and commuting to the city or wherever you were, and I was on the east end of Long Island, which I've been since '96, and it just worked. What started as supposed to be traffic reports, she started, like, instead of hanging out for the 60 seconds of the traffic report, she would hang out for like 6 minutes and just keep talking and stuff, and it felt good. It felt good. So we went with it, and the rest is history. We've told a lot of incredible stories on the radio. I'll give you 3 of my favorites. Candy's personal stories from her childhood, because we learned early the best thing on a morning show. We had a rule. The rule was no politics, no religion. Never discuss politics and religion. Family-friendly, fun, and we immediately dove headfirst into our lives, and that's what the show really was for all those years. 3 of my favorite stories. Candy worked in the bowels of Monticello Raceway, counting money in a windowless room that was locked when she was in it, and she had to knock to get out. True story, you can ask her about that. What was going on? Money is very dirty. Candy would talk about wearing her suspenders at 15 years old, sitting on her bed writing dark poetry. She might recite one for you if you're lucky. My personal favorite, because I used to make fun of her for being at Woodstock. I'm like, I know you were at Woodstock. I know it. Well, she wasn't at Woodstock, but her and her mother made sandwiches for people stuck at Woodstock, and then put them on a helicopter or something and delivered them. There might have been soup also. The biggest thing on the show and the most fun was her talking about her family and a lot of people who are here tonight. And these were, I don't know if you all know this, you were regular topics on the program.
We know.
Okay, well, her sons Casey and Evan, this is what's interesting. Casey and Evan, every day, at least once a day on the show for 22 years. You will not believe how beautiful my boys are. They're so beautiful. And this is the first time I've been in a room with them. The pictures were good, but wow. Oh my God. There is, of course, some people who are not here. Your wife, Jackie, who I had like 3 pages on Jackie, but look, just tell her we love her, all right? I know Candy loves her daughter-in-law, Jackie. Rodrigo, this is Rodrigo over here. Rodrigo's been, I don't know if you know this, Rodrigo, you're a big part of the show. Rodrigo, I mean, if Casey and Evan weren't enough, then came Rodrigo. I don't know who's hotter. I mean, it's unbelievable between the 3 of them. So I got a big hug from Rodrigo before the show started. That was the highlight of the night so far for me. The birth of her favorite human on the planet, her granddaughter Maeve, who for the last 3 years or so was a major topic on the program. She was supposed to be here tonight. I was excited to meet her. Luckily, she did not come because we are running really long. And between Dan's F-bombs and Ellyn's bitch, probably not placed. I think Tony said titties earlier too, so. Good job keeping the kid home, for sure. We discussed the birth of my 3 children. That was big doings. Oh, Ellyn, Yvonne, Debbie, the trips, the ladies' lunches. This was the show. It was the Seinfeld episode every day. And Brian, of course, the love of Candy's life, the history. Brian would be mentioned also once a day, and my response would always be, "Oh, Brian, oh." Brian, she does love her some Brian. It's nice to meet you tonight, too, Brian. It's an incredible career. It's really unbelievable. 46 professional years in broadcasting. What's even more unbelievable is that they paid you every single day to say bumper to bumper on the LIE. That's incredible. That is like stealing money. All kidding aside, honestly, the banter, the passion, the professionalism, always professional. We had some great shows, great times together. It's my honor to be here to help induct Candy into the CW Post Radio, LIU Radio Hall of Fame. Congratulations.
One, two, three. Perfect.
It's your turn.
Okay.
Your turn, Candy.
Come on, close. Oh, it's not on.
I shut it on. Oh, okay.
How do you work with someone all those years and they
All
shut
those
the
years,
mic
he shuts
off?
the mic off.
The hell?
Was he trying to tell you?
I guess. Well, I'm honored to be ending tonight's ceremony, and
I got more to say.
I want to thank you and everyone here. Good evening. And again, I want to reiterate, this is the second time in life that I actually met Phathead in person. But yet he's my brother from another mother. And that shows you the power of radio, because it brings emotions and feelings. And if you're just yourself, which is what I want to say to the younger people here tonight, the key to broadcasting, whether you're doing a podcast or YouTube or whatever you people do now, be yourself. We can see through fake in 2 seconds flat. So the best advice I can give you is stay in there and absolutely network, which I was never good at, and be yourself. You are enough. Be you and do you is the advice I would give. Well, WCWP was my niche. We came to CW Post, we went to the radio station, and there I found my home. I was addicted. I fell in love with radio. I didn't go home summers because I stayed and worked. I loved everything about it. I loved the people we met and the dear friends that we still have for life. It was my home away from home, my safe place. Midnite Progressive was my favorite thing on earth. And at that time, I thought, I'll get a job at an FM station, and I'll play whatever kind of music I want, and I'll be famous, and they'll pay me a lot of money. Well, no. I didn't get a job in radio for 2 years after I graduated, and I almost gave up. Well, finally, I did get a job at WJVC-FM in Asbury Park. And I landed in musical heaven. There, through Springsteen, John Bon Jovi, Southside Johnny, were always appearing or just hanging out. And I mean just hanging out. And I loved radio, and I still do. When WCBS-AM was retired, and that's putting it nicely, it was like mourning a long friend. It's a different world today, and you have many options of what to do. And we have the internet and all these other things. And again, I want to reiterate, take advantage of it all. We had radio and TV and print. So we didn't have as many choices, but you do. So take advantage of them. I stayed in Asbury doing the 7 to midnight shift for 3 years. And then I was offered another job doing traffic reports that paid more money and put me in a union, which I now have a pension. And so that's what I chose to do. Getting there, it was a world I walked into. I had no idea that I was going to be on all these New York City radio stations speaking with these people I adored and admired for years. When I was introducing traffic on WCWP-FM for the first time and Scott Muni introduced me, I almost hyperventilated. Scott Muni, he said my name. I mean, it was remarkable. And then came Frankie Crocker, who was the epitome of smooth. Nobody was smoother or more talented than Frankie Crocker. I actually worked with Howard Stern, not easy, on the air, but I learned off the air of what a nice, kind, caring person he was. And it was one of my greatest honors to be a part of the show and to actually have him know who I was. I also did TV for 10 years on Fox 5, totally a different format. And for me, it wasn't my thing, but I was grateful to have that experience. But my greatest job, and still is being a mother. And because I was able to be home every afternoon from my job, I got to be with my kids every afternoon, and we got to do everything that, moms want to do, go over homework and go to your sporting events and just be together. I'm so grateful that I had that time because I wanted to raise good human beings on this planet more than anything else. And I did just that because my 2 sons, Evan and Casey, are 2 of the best people you will ever come across. I want to thank my beautiful boys for making me a proud mama. And now, tonight, as they were talking, I'm a bubby. And I have to say that's my greatest job of all. It's the most joyful. I love that little girl with my whole heart, and I look forward to her growing up and having her bubby there to show her the way. Now my friend Debbie, who I met at work when we first got together, is my angel that I swear my mother sent to me from heaven. She has always been there for me, the kindest person I know. Debbie should be nominated for sainthood because that's just how good a person she is. To my darling Yvonne, we met on the orientation line. We've been friends ever since. You're my sister. Ellyn, you're the joy, my sister. You've been in my life. We've seen our children grow. We share that connection. I'd like to thank the board of directors of the Hall of Fame for inducting me, even though it took 40 years. This has been a wonderful journey. It truly has, and I wish you all good health, happiness, but most of all, I wish you joy, because there's no greater thing on this planet than being joyful. And speaking of joy, I want to thank my partner, Brian, who has always stood by me through thick and thin, and believe me, it's not always easy. Brian, you are my home, you are my heart, and I love you, and I want to thank you all.
One, two, three.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Cande.
Thank you all very, very much. Have a great night. And just a note, when I did Rock and Roll Weekend, it was a fairly strict format. It was my format. But thank God Dave Caggiano let me do one night a week on Midnite Progressive because it was where I could really open myself up. So have a good night.